Netanyahu's gonna go, ha ha ha, checkmate, America. Now you're my bitch again. Now you fight my wars. And they'll probably even withdraw and say, America, you do our dirty work for us. Spend a couple of trillion like you did in Iraq, and tens of thousands of Americans get killed or wounded. Who cares? Israel needs you to do something for us. Hurry up and do it, okay? And American media will be like, oh, they are the victims. They are the victims. They're doing self-defense now. We have to help them with their defense. What do you mean defense? What is defense? No, it's nothing but offense. With allies like this, you don't need enemies.
Overnight, Israel carrying out a major attack inside Iran, aimed at crippling its nuclear program and preventing Iran from building a nuclear bomb. Multiple waves of strikes throughout the night across multiple cities, hitting nuclear enrichment facilities and ballistic missile centers. Multiple residential buildings engulfed in flames in Iran's capital.
When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat.
I'm assuming that does not count for America and Israel, which also have weapons of mass death, but just for Iran. In any event, we're all now, whether we like it or not, and I think most people watching this probably won't, a whole lot closer to all-out war in the Middle East thanks to Israel launching its massive preemptive attack on Iran, what we would call, if it were any other country, the initiation of a war. If it's the United States and Israel, you could just do this sort of thing, and it's just a strategy. It's just cool. Everybody quiet down about it. But it is big, objectively. Iran has not been hit like this since the 1980s. There have been more limited strikes inside of Iranian territory earlier this year from Israel, but this really does stand out. And bear in mind, it happened right before what were supposed to be, hopefully, fruitful conversations between the United States and Iran this weekend to try to establish some sort of nuclear deal between our two countries. That deal being necessary because Donald Trump tore up the previous deal in his first term because he had not negotiated it, thus necessitating a new one and also raising fears about the possibility that they could be developing nuclear weapons. Bear in mind, we didn't have inspectors on the ground because Donald Trump destroyed the previous deal. But this operation, which they're calling Rising Lion, very cool. No notes, very cool. It involved heavy airstrikes against some of Iran's main uranium enrichment sites, strikes inside of the capital as well as in other cities. They were designed to take out the military leadership, and they were quite successful in doing that. In total, over 100 targets were hit, more than 200 jets were used, as well as drones and precision weapons that had been smuggled into Iran and had been stored there by the Israeli spy agency Mossad, indicating that they apparently have a quite robust operation inside of Iranian territory. And it does appear that there's been some success, although not necessarily exactly what might have been hoped from this attack. The command center and centrifuges at one of Iran's main uranium enrichment sites, that's Natanz, are likely to have been destroyed. They didn't hit the most likely repository of the closest to bomb-grade nuclear fuel that Iran possesses. But in addition to infrastructure, which was destroyed, there were also Iranian leaders. So you have the literal head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, the top military official inside of Iran, was killed last night. The chief of staff of Iran's armed forces, a major aide to the Ayatollah, as well as the person who was in charge of the nuclear negotiations with the United States, will not be participating this weekend because he was killed, and the commander of the IRGC's Air Force as well. In addition to the military and I guess aides that were killed, there were also dozens of civilians. Of course, these are widespread airstrikes. Hundreds of others were injured. Multiple nuclear scientists were killed. You see two right there. A spokesperson for the IDF is claiming that at least 9 nuclear scientists were killed. And yeah, so look, there's a lot. It's a developing situation. Iran launched a very limited counterattack that in the immediate aftermath of it, that I don't believe any of the drones they launched actually made it through to Israel. They have launched missiles more recently prior to us going live. Some of those appear to have struck inside of Tel Aviv. I believe there are reports of injuries, at least as of when we were going live. I had not seen any confirmations of any fatalities as a result of that. But it's a developing situation. Benjamin Netanyahu has said that this is just the beginning. They're going to continue. And as you'll see, Trump is promising more of that as well. But Cenk, lot going on,
Yeah.
history being made.
Yep, so let me start on media and propaganda, and then I want to get to the most important part, which is how Trump got suckered into this war, because he's an idiot. And I will explain and you will agree. Whether you're left or right, it's super obvious. So first off, on the media, and look, we fall into this sometimes as well. So they attacked their nuclear program. They also attacked in the middle of Tehran, their capital city. So the way that the press is framing it as like, it was a preemptive attack on their nuclear program. No, they dropped tons of bombs in the middle of Tehran, one of the most crowded cities in the world, right? But you haven't heard anything about their civilian deaths. You haven't heard anything about any of that because, of course, they're Iranians, not Israelis, so their lives don't matter. So, but the minute Iran started attacking back, they're like, oh my God, injuries in Tel Aviv, injuries. Oh, you have to go in there and help Israel fight this war instead of Israel. That's what the propaganda is driving towards, okay? So John's right about the piece of propaganda of, these weapons of mass death cannot be allowed to happen. That you must attack a country, especially in the Middle East, if they're gonna develop nuclear weapons. Under that ideology, we would have wiped out Israel. Israel has nukes. They don't, and by the way, part of this is not just about, we're so worried Iran's gonna hit us. I'm gonna tell you why that's ridiculous in a second. No, it's that they don't wanna lose leverage. If anyone else has nukes in the Middle East, then Israel is constrained. They don't want to be constrained. They want to attack Syria, they want to attack Lebanon, they want to keep Gaza and the West Bank, they want to attack Iran, and they don't want to be constrained. If anybody else is anywhere near parity, they might be slightly constrained from setting up greater Israel. So later they will all pretend that Israel was the victims, not later, they're doing it today. And they're gonna do it from here till eternity. Mainstream media is gonna lie to you about how, oh my God, poor Israel. What could they do? Now this next slide. They went after, they were about to get a nuclear bomb. You heard it in the first clip we played for you guys. No, they weren't. They were at best a couple of weeks away, which sounds really close, to enriching uranium for the first time at a level where it could be weaponized. But if you wanted to actually put it on a bomb, that actually would have taken at least another year. How often have you heard that on TV? That they were nowhere near being able to weaponize a bomb, that they're not even close to it, not within a year. On TV, it looks like, oh my God, Iran was about to get a nuke and kill us all. Oh, thank God, preventative war and preemptive war from Israel. So, what a great thing. Oh, don't worry about the Iranian civilians. Iran struck back those goddamn terrorists. Okay, so usual stuff. Part of it is, okay, Israel's the greatest and we have to give all of your money to Israel and you have to fight their wars for them. But most of it is make sure America gets sucked into this war. One last thing about the framing. Their physicists were killed and their lead negotiator was killed and their top military leaders and politicians were killed. Now, if Iran had struck first and they'd killed Israeli civilian scientists and the top Israeli negotiator for peace and an Israeli politician and their top 3 military commanders, what would we call it? Everyone in the press would say, murdered, terrorists. No, Israeli civilians were murdered by the terrorists. Israel does it, they were just killed. We're just going after, they were about to get the bomb. What could poor Israel do? So no, Israel's a massive aggressor. They do not let the American media lie to you and pretend starting tomorrow because, now Iran counterattacked. So they'll show you tons of pictures on air about Israel, Tel Aviv. So look, am I worried about civilians in Israel or Iran? Yes, I don't want any civilians dying in Israel. But don't tell me that you're the victims. Don't tell me that you're doing self-defense and drag America into it. And right now we're massively dragged into it. So how? Number one, we're now doing defense for Israel, defense. So that means we pay a ton of money to bring our aircraft carriers, to bring our ships, and now we're knocking down the Iranian missiles. So we're already on day one, right in the middle of the war. And we find out today, oops, it turns out that we gave them intelligence on the bombing carrier. So wait a minute, so we're involved on the offense and the defense. We're right in the middle of this war. On day one, it was so easy to get America in the middle of this war with Iran. And Israel can't wait for an American service member to be killed. They're gonna set fireworks, not into Israeli civilians and citizens, and the scumbags who run, the terrorists who run their government. Because the minute an American is killed, and by the way, get a load of this, Israel's super protected because we gave them Iron Dome. So, and we've got our aircraft carriers, we're shooting down everything. But American troops in the Middle East don't have Iron Dome. They're sitting ducks. So the minute Iran hits a soft target, which is us, then Netanyahu's gonna go, ha ha ha, checkmate America. Now you're my bitch again. Now you fight my wars. And they'll probably even withdraw and say, America, you do our dirty work for us. Spend a couple of trillion like you did in Iraq, and tens of thousands of Americans get killed or wounded. Who cares? Israel needs you to do something for us. Hurry up and do it, okay? And American media will be like, oh, they are the victims. They are the victims. They're doing self-defense now. We have to help them with their defense. What do you mean defense? What is defense? No, it's nothing but offense. What? So no, get the hell out of there. And I got to get to Maz. So I'll tell you in a minute how they tricked Trump into this. He's such a child. Maz.
Well, you're right on all fronts, and Netanyahu's been wanting to do this for years and years. If you recall, before the actual first nuclear deal, he was at the UN with that Wile E. Coyote bomb and saying Iran is just a couple weeks away. We have to bomb Iran. We have to bomb Iran. And to your point, it seems like he played Donald Trump like an orange-haired fiddle to get him to do this, because he supposedly had convinced Trump that if he does this now, it will help bring Iran to the negotiating table. Which, by the way, Donald Trump, you saw, he said, oh, I told them make a deal in 60 days. This is day 61. They should have made a deal. You better make a deal now. You already had a deal. And this new deal isn't that different from the previous deal. And if we stuck with the previous deal, perhaps we'd have more knowledge about what's going on inside Iran and inside their program. Now, as an Iranian-American in the diaspora, I could tell you that a lot of Iranians don't like the government. The government's an oppressive government, and it's maybe not even a trustworthy government, but nobody wants to go to war and kill innocent people. So when I see the images, and I reached out to some relatives and just asking if they're okay. One friend of mine said that he had been at the airport and there was a lot of chaos, but he was fine. But we don't know the numbers, to your point. We don't know the numbers. And as an Iranian American, again, it has been exhausting. It's exhausting to be Iranian in this world, because the people of Iran are really good people. And the government of Iran is oppressive. But then you get caught up in the middle of this where Bibi's playing Trump and Trump is going along, and we're about to start World War III in that region. And so, what can we do? I don't know. And I think a big part of this was also Bibi had been seeing that the continuing killing of Gazans was definitely in the world, was getting more people were knowing about it. And it was another distraction to go, let me go after these guys. And to your point, they've got the backing of America. And I don't know, the thing that I always am perplexed by is these world leaders, when they do these types of things, it seems like they never think about what's the day after. Because if you were to go and bomb Iran and bomb Iran and bomb Iran, what's the day after? What's gonna happen? Are you gonna find a way to cause a regime change and create a democratic Iran by bombing them? Is that what your strategy is? What is your strategy? So I don't see any strategy there except chaos. And it's very worrisome for all the civilians that are gonna be harmed in such a war.
By the way, really fast, so apparently the UN ambassador from Iran says 78 were killed, 320 were wounded.
In Iran?
Yeah.
So, but their civilians don't count, they're Muslim, so it's okay. And so, but the poor Israelis. So I gotta build on two things that Maz said. So number one, look, a lot of governments are terrible in this world, right? Ranging from bad to despotic, right? So are any of us in favor of the Iranian regime? No, it's not a democracy, it's a supreme leader, Ayatollah, fundamentalist, no interest in it, they oppress their own people, etc.
We cheered on the protests that tried to overthrow it just a couple of years ago.
Oh, absolutely, we love that if it's organic coming from the Iranian people, right? So does that mean we should go to war with them? I mean, this is the same thing that they used on Iraq. Oh, Saddam Hussein's a bad guy. But Saddam Hussein was not a threat to America. Where do we get the intelligence that they had weapons of mass destruction? I hope you're sitting. We got it from Israel. And when they say, oh, no, Israel's a really big ally. And I always ask how? All they ever do is get us into wars, they get us into trouble, get us killed, get the whole Muslim world to hate us. How are they an ally? They say, oh, they give us intelligence. Yeah, fake intelligence so that we could fight their wars for them. So with allies like this, you don't need enemies. Israel will create endless enemies for us, and they're doing it again here. So, for example, I don't like the current leader of Turkey and the government right now. I think that he's taking away democracy. I think it's terrible. And a lot of Turks agree with me. Do you think the Turks would then be happy if Turkey was bombed by Israel? What kind of lunatic would say something that stupid? No, all the Turks would be super mad. They would all rally around Erdogan, which would make him much, much stronger, not weaker. And the idea that Turks or Persians or anyone would be like, oh, you've bombed us now. Now we love you so much. Thank you for killing us. This is the stupid neocon philosophy that is so childish, so obviously wrong. They're not even trying hard. And all of the American media, oh yeah, it could be. And then now we turn to Trump. And so Maz is right. Look, I'll do graphic 6 from the next story. We're gonna talk more about how US is getting sucked into this. Watch the show live 6 to 8 o'clock every day. So, but in his long screed, Trump, when he's pretending, and in the next story we'll tell you about why he's pretending that he was in on it all along. He says, as long as I think there's an agreement, I don't want them going in, referring to Israel, okay? Because I think that would blow it. Might help it actually, but also could blow it. Now that was before the strike. So he's told, and this is now verified in 18 different ways, Wall Street Journal saying, he told Israel not to bomb them, right? And then, but the Israelis got in his ear and they're like, oh, no. You know what, I know you want peace, Don, and we all want peace. But like, you know what though, if we bomb them first, that might bring them to the table better. Now, any child would know that that's preposterous. You bomb a country, they're not gonna likely to come to the table more. In fact, they can't come to the table, you murdered their lead negotiator, right? And you bombed their capital, you killed all those civilians, you injured all those people that John just told you about, and you killed their top military officials and their politicians. Are they more or less likely to come to the table? Of course they're less likely to come to the table right after you bomb their capital. Imagine if they Iran bombed Washington, D.C. Do you think that would make us more likely to negotiate with them and give them what they want? Nobody thinks that, other than morons like Donald Trump, who are like, okay, you might be right, Netanyahu. And then you're gonna get walked right into the middle of the war, and he did. He's such an idiot.
I think, look, racism ruins everything. That is an insane thing to believe, that they would come to negotiate when you bomb them. Unless you think, well, I'm a good white person, we're logical, reasonable, we use common sense. They're crazy, God only knows what they'll do. Like if you don't think that the vast majority of the people on earth are fully conscious, sentient creatures, then you could think whatever the hell you want of them. And you could convince your base to think whatever you want of them. But on the topic of the negotiations, we should talk more about that because Iran has, perhaps not surprisingly, canceled this weekend's negotiations on the nuclear deal. And their lead negotiator is dead. So that was probably obvious. And a lot of people are wondering, well, like the goal of these attacks were to stop Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, which we're assured they were on the precipice of getting. But if they thought they needed a nuclear weapon as a deterrent, this kind of seems like confirmation of that. Like maybe they needed even more, and so there's concern that this could drive them to do anything they need to get the weapon. And we have a little bit on that rough topic from the BBC's security correspondent, Frank Gardner.
There's no guarantee that this is going to be the silver bullet that Israel is hoping for. And there is a fear now that not only is Iran going to continue its retaliation, and who knows where that's going to end, is it just going to be against Israel, or are they going to extend it to Gulf Arab countries? Where will this end? But most importantly, the hawks within Iran's establishment are now going to be saying, we told you so, we were right, they were going to attack us. The best deterrent to stop further attacks like this from Israel is go for the bomb.
I mean, just think about over the course of like the last year, the helicopter, the drone attacks from Israel, now the bombing. Semi-regularly, Israel attacks Iran. And from their perspective, it's totally justified. But from the Iranian point of view, they desperately need a deterrent. And clearly, whatever conventional weapons they have, their military, their ballistic missiles, their drones, all of that clearly does not deter an attack. So if that doesn't do it, what would? Weapons of mass destruction is the answer that a lot of people will provide to that question. And obviously, I don't want them to have that, but I think it's gonna be a lot easier to make that case when you're constantly being attacked.
Yeah. So one more thing about this absurdity about if we bomb them and we start murdering their leaders, they'll be more likely to negotiate. Under that logic, wouldn't that say that, well, Hamas was right to do October 7th because that would make Israel more likely to negotiate? You see how dumb that logic is? You would never apply it to Israel, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, it's a good thing Israel was attacked because then they're more likely to get to a peace deal. No person in America would dare say that sentence. But they say it about the Iranians. They said it about the Iraqis. Oh yeah, they like being murdered. So that's more likely to bring them to the negotiation table. Said morons who repeat obvious Israeli propaganda. And last thing for me on this is they always frame it as they're about to get a nuke. Jack Callahan, one of our members, wrote in, so yeah, they're about to get a nuke for the last 41 years, right? That's if you listen to Netanyahu, oh, Iran's gonna get a nuke. Iran, you better attack Iran. I don't like Iran. They're a slight challenge to me. Maybe they could be a problem. So just murder them, kill them, kill them, kill them, attack them, attack them. So what happened? 41 straight years. You were lying for the entire goddamn time, and they were lying now, as I told you, they were at least a year away. But that's not the main point. The main point isn't, oh, should we attack them and start a giant war in the Middle East or Iran gets nukes? No, or you do a peace treaty where you take their uranium out of the country and they can't develop military grade uranium and you get a peace deal. That is the correct answer. That was the answer that Obama gave. That was the answer Trump was going towards. And by the way, we almost had it. And Trump, there was reports that Trump had made a deal, but then Israel came in and said, oh, you're letting him enrich a tiny amount of uranium that doesn't get anywhere near, like it's such a giant difference, guys. I know it sounds like, well, uranium's uranium. It's not. Tons of countries enrich uranium to a point where they could use it for energy, and it cannot be then militarized, right? And the peace deal would have made sure that it technically and could not be militarized, right? So we had that deal, and Israel came in and said, I blocked that deal. Donald Trump, you're not allowed to make that deal. They're not allowed to have any uranium because they knew that Iran would not accept that. Why are they the only ones that are not allowed to have nuclear energy? So since Israel knew that Iran wouldn't accept it, they're like, good. So then we'll get to attack them and then we'll make America pay for it. And don't get any mistakes here. We will foot almost the entire bill for this war. And when you goes to Congress, all the bought corrupt politicians will say, oh, we have to help our beloved special ally Israel defend itself. Here's all the Americans, hey, you work your ass off, you work 2 jobs, okay, half of one of those jobs is gonna go to Israel to kill more Iranians, to kill more Palestinians, to invade more countries. Don't you dare try to put food on the table for your family here in America. No, give me that money, it's going to Israel. It's going to their wars. That's a fact. You can catch feelings over it in either direction, but as a stone cold fact, how many more hundreds of billions of dollars is Israel gonna take from us to start more aggressive wars in the Middle East? All right, Maz, last word on this.
You know, they literally blew up the nuclear deal. They literally blew it up. They killed the negotiator, they killed other people that were involved. And going back to Netanyahu was trying to convince Trump to not do the nuclear deal. So you got to imagine Netanyahu or somebody within his inner circle was saying, hey, you know what? Since we can play Trump like a pawn, let's convince him that doing this bombing is going to help that negotiation. Because famously, Trump keeps saying that he's a peaceful, he doesn't want war, he doesn't want war, he doesn't want war. And here we are, we're in war now. We are in the war. And it is just, it's so amazing how small-brained Trump is to fall for this. Because a strong Trump, if he were strong, he would have told Bibi, no, do not attack. I'm about to make this deal. and that will make the world a safer place. And we will have an ability to go in and observe their nuclear program. And as you said, bring the weaponization out, and they can have a nuclear energy, but they won't have a weaponized nuclear program. And so that's what a strong leader would have done. But on the other hand, we've got Trump in office, and he just, went along. Here we go. And perhaps he'll do what, like, if you recall, with Russia and Ukraine, he said, I'll have it solved on day one. And here we are several months later, and he's kind of put his hands in the air and been like, let him just figure it out. And so similarly in this situation, Cenk, as you were saying, we're just going to keep funding Israel, and Trump's going to say, oh, let them just do whatever they got to do, and we'll see where this leads. And where this, unfortunately, if you look at history, where this will lead is to hundreds of thousands of innocent Iranians dying, probably several thousand Israelis, several thousand, possibly several thousand American soldiers, and it's going to be a repeat of Iraq or Afghanistan. I mean, that's what it feels like right now. And so once again, Donald Trump was played by Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah, super weak on his part. And even a lot of MAGA is saying that today. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.